Hey, very good evening to everyone. This is Master Kevin Foong speaking tonight. Now, if you just join me for the session, do help me to do a like and share. So tonight it's going to be quite special because I've actually invited a very special guest on board. Now, of course, this is going to help many of you to be planning what I thought is getting ideas from very powerful minds, right? So a lot of us, sometimes during this period, a lot of us, in fact, me and my team has been doing a lot of the consultations. We are, of course, looking at answering a lot of questions. What's the plan ahead, right, in this current COVID situation? So let me know where do most of you guys is dialing in from. So if you just drop in, do help me to drop a hi at the comment section, and I'll be happy to hear many of you from, right? Okay, so we have Francis Yo. Very good evening, Francis. Right. Okay. So wherever you're dialing in from, just help me to drop a hi. So at least let me know which country you're connecting from before I officially introduce our guest for tonight. Okay, right. So this is what I'll actually be discussing for this entire session. This is a series where we start to do interview of clients. Now, clients that has been with us for a very long time. But the key thing is here is I want you guys to be able to tap onto this person brain because technically, he started with at a very young age, right? So he started at a time whereby I think the story was that he even had to borrow some money to start his own company, right? So, and I thought that with that, I'll probably later in the while I'll introduce him in, so at least you'll be able to start to hear from him directly, and then a lot of this will start to make more sense. Now, tonight for the whole session, it's good because one of the key things we want to address here is this. I want you to understand that if Jackson, from his point of view, he can start with nothing, right? So and then totally understand his path. He understand that he has a dream that he's working for, and if he can do it, and I think most of us will be able to get a lot of at least good advice on how do we actually start from that level, okay, and how do we carry on things from there. So I'll actually have him come on to the stream, okay, in a while. So a while, if you can hear me, Jackson, are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
So
hey,
yeah,
Kevin.
hey, Jackson. So
Hey,
sorry
everyone.
about that. Just now Facebook just went crash for a while. Okay, so
It
I
happens.
think that
Yeah.
we are good for now. Okay. So Jackson, a few things. Maybe you like to let our people that's connected with us here tonight. Apparently, this is also live on YouTube. So we are live on many different platforms right now. So probably you can just do a quick introduction of what do you actually do.
Yeah,
Yes.
my name is Jackson. I'm the founder of Mighty Jaxx. So Mighty Jaxx is a local, design studio that specializes in collectibles. So we work with Warner Brothers, like what else? Nickelodeon, SpongeBob SquarePants, kind of like IPs that we work with, and we create them into like figurines and collectibles, and we have collectors in over 60 countries. Yeah.
Right. So collectibles, yeah. So I see the concept of this is most people would think that collectibles are toys, right? So and most people think that it makes, would it start to brush you off like, are you serious? Toy in a big industry, or but is it a different segment that people needs to be understanding?
Yeah, we're always known as a toy company from the public point of view, right? And it's easy to associate toy with like all the kid stuff that you see at Toys R Us or like Kitty Palace, that kind of things. That's not really what we do. Like we sort of is a bridge between those toys and art pieces, right? So we're right smack in the middle. And we always say, I always joke, right? Like we are adult toys, basically. We create toys for like young adults. Um, you know,
Right. So yeah, that was what. In fact, if you don't know what toys we are talking about, I think I have some quick slides here. You probably can. I'll just show it from my screen for a bit. All right. So what I can see is, you see, these are some of the toys I think Jackson and his company has created over the years. I thought these are very fanciful stuff. Of course, in the world of feng shui, some of us will say, hey, skeleton may not be too good, but then it's very interesting because these are very unique collectibles. I must admit, I'm actually a fan of this thing because during my time we are really crazy into things like Naruto, this like One Piece, so Japanese anime. So a lot of this has been what was in a lot of my collection. So I don't deny the fact that I'm actually using a lot, doing a lot of these collectibles right now. Okay, so let me understand a little bit more. So when you were starting out, how do you conceptualize on that idea? Is it just suddenly one day, you decided, hey, this is what I want to do, or how did it come about?
Yeah, so I come from the creative background, so I study interactive media, so I built websites and stuff. And I was doing a lot of digital related work, but during at the time 2012, 2013, I sort of have a wave of nostalgia. Like I wanted to create something that is physical, so tangible object. And I realized I collect a lot of these toys lah, and sometimes when I first bought it's like $10, right? Like those small toys, figurines, and after that I keep spending like $100, $200, and it's sort of like a slippery slope down, and that's what collecting is, right? That's what a hobby is, I guess. And I think that was born out of my previous field venture as well. So I was in the camera business for a while, and I failed that entirely. I have $0 in the bank, and then I was keeping my toys in the boxes, and I sort of thought of myself like how are toys made? Because in Singapore, like you rarely see manufacturing facilities up front. It's not something that we are really sort of in the know about. And so I decided that spend the last of my dollars, go to Shenzhen, and knock on factory doors and really just understand how the whole conventional manufacturing has been done. Yeah, that's how it came about. Yeah, my passion
Wow, so
and
so
love.
you just
Yeah,
decided that you want to go Shenzhen and then look at what's going to be your journey, right? And tell us a bit more.
yeah.
During that time we started this, how old were you actually?
I was right out of army, so that was I think
What, 22, 23?
20, 22, 23. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. What does a parent think of this? When you were to go tell them that,
Um,
I'm going to be starting a toy business.
Yeah, they thought I'm crazy, lah, pretty much. But you see, I've never been a academic of sorts, and so by regular Singaporean standard of academic, I'm nowhere near average as well. In fact, I get F9 for my science, and I those are things that I knowingly fail, and I purposely failed as well because I wanted to go into creative. And so for my family, I guess they don't really have that expectation, and so like as long as you don't do drugs and you don't like steal and you don't do whatever nonsense, that's generally fine. Yeah,
Right, right. But so they were actually still supportive of you, going what ahead of your entrepreneur plan, I guess.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Okay, so guys, when you are hearing all of us right now, this is exactly one example I want to thought is a good idea. Today is just going to be a mastermind brainstorming session because I think I have a little bit of the experience in terms of my entrepreneurship journey. In fact, it hasn't been easy, right? So I started from data centers. Of course, right now most of you will know me at Master Kevin Foong, which I've been teaching, educating through feng shui or 八字 astrology. One of the key things that I always tell you guys is, it's not exactly wrong if you think that education is everything, right? I mean, after all, government has did a pretty good job of getting us, to be ready for to be well educated and then eventually for the real world. But I always say this: if you are not deciding to become a doctor, a lawyer, right? I will actually set out a very strong statement that I would think that education at this point in time is lesser of a concern that you should be looking into. But rather, I would say this: I would prefer that these days that even yourself or you've got children in the future, I will actually let them go through an experience to start a business or even let them fail first. I think like what Jackson has mentioned earlier on, he had a camera business, so you were doing some, I think, part-time camera reselling. I'm not too sure, right? So maybe later you can let our guests know what sort of camera business that you actually went into and how come it kind of failed.
I think yeah, it was a camera business because I personally I love cameras, right? So I began to collect a lot of cameras, and with a lot of hobbies, you tend to buy and sell a lot, and that's quite common. And so I buy and sell cameras, and we're talking
Right.
about those 1950s, 1960s kind of film cameras, and through that I sort of make money off the trade, right? Flipping the cameras. and then it became a brand, and I started importing tons of cameras from Ukraine and so on, right? But then things got like quite tricky when we have like additional partners coming in, and it was my first partnership that I have, and I don't really know how to manage relationships. So along the way, right, I realized relationships is the number one like toughest thing to manage. Like the product is no problem, the cash flow, in fact, even is not quite a problem, right? Cash we can get from multiple places. But relationships, it's tricky, you see. And so when the goals and visions are not aligned, then naturally things will fall apart. And fall apart it did. And so, that's where I was packing up stuff, and I was thinking, what's my next act, Yeah.
Right. So now I read somewhere that Mighty Max is on the way to a $10 million revenue this year, or rather, it could be a last year projection. So maybe educate us a bit. How big is really this collectible sculpture market right now? If we are looking at it.
We had this conversation, briefly as well, around surrounding topic about gaming and stuff like that, right? So if
Mm.
you look at um, movies or gaming, and you realize that a lot of these culture are actually converging at a certain point, and they're all interrelated. And collectibles are one such thing as well. So that's why Mighty Jaxx, we work with Warner Brothers, and even a couple of gaming studios to develop this content, right? And so their fans would like buy these items, and so will our fans would buy these items as well. So it's kind of interlinked in that manner. So there isn't quite a fixed market size, but when you look at the whole entertainment business, gaming is 150 billion just by itself, and that was in like 2018, right? So it's massive.
Yes. So essentially, you see, the viewers that you're watching right now, in fact, while you are watching this, do help me to, like and share at the same time, because whatever the stories that we're going to put out, the whole idea is we want to inspire more people to come forward, right? To actually do the things that you really wanted to do in life. And I thought that Jackson really set one of the early presidents, in getting this done out. And I still remember the first time, you came to us very early, I think about 2014. So I think that was maybe sometime about 2 years. I mean, my team went through the emails, record and everything. I mean, apparently we are seeing you every other year. So I guess that's a good progress to see on your part, right? So I still remember 2014. I actually met you in my office, and then back
Yeah.
then I wouldn't say that you're a very young chap, but you came across to me as a matured person, that you kind of clearly know what you want. But probably back then, we kind of used the idea of 八字 to do quite a little bit of projection and here and there. But I just want to talk that, because these days, when you talk about 八字, you talk about feng shui. It's always more like an olden people kind of thing, right? It's like people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they know exactly what's Chinese metaphysics. But how come, you at that age, 20 plus, I would like to say that I think you're one of my, a small percentage of very young customers. In fact, we are seeing a trend these days that more and more young customers is looking for answers beyond whatever they study in school, right? So beyond that. So I just thought, what would actually at the back of your mind when we say, hey, you know what, I decided to look into my date of birth and time, or what was actually the influence from the back of it?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because um, I actually went to find you with an intention to get the answers that I was looking for, lah, or in general, just trying to understand, how it works. And my family, like, we have never been like super superstitious. I would say even certain rituals that we did is almost cultural. It's almost okay, 7 months here, right? As it is right now. And then you gotta go and pray and all that. It's more cultural than really the superstitious thing for us, right?
Sure.
And so when I was back then in 2014, I was traveling around in Indonesia, in a couple of Southeast Asian countries like that, and I began to meet a lot of friends, and a lot of these um, I guess ideas and things are passed down from a long line back, generations ago, especially in Indonesia, because this is very common. It's not a surprise at all to people about this kind of spiritual stuff is one thing, the sixth sense of things. And so I began to meet a couple of friends that have that. And so they sort of share me like a couple of things that's happening around me, and in my life. And I thought, wow, that's exactly what's happening right now, and certain incidents just happen. And so that got me into like trying to understand the whole idea of it, and what are the different disciplines and skill sets that are to form this picture. Yeah, if it makes sense.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so I that actually summarized that you had a group of friends who had a little bit of experience. Probably they give you some sort of a free reading or assessment, but it starts to pick up some of these points, seems to relate pretty well. This is exactly what we're talking about. The reason for me that I was from data center industry, and then eventually I came on board astrology. It's not really by chance. I mean, for me, it's more of a circumstances thing. I know there were certain things that I really, really need to find out, and I think you're right that at some point that we all of us need answers and directions. But I just kind of being amazed at the fact that at that age you came, and then you came on with the ideas. And then most people, that's the thing about with ideas. I will tell you that I've done close to me and my team has done thousands of consultations over the years. A lot of people will come, so they will sit down and then you have consultations, and then we can be right about the forecast and prediction or what's not. But the thing is, moving forward, most people, that we have done, some of them really take the advice seriously and then went ahead to proceed with the task on hand. Whereas that you have another group that will be pretty much really holding back in a lot of things. Like they think that maybe the market is not ready for me to start right now, or maybe this is a low market, and if I were to go in, I will be crushed by all the competitors. Or maybe this is simply I'm not cut out to become a businessman. I think a lot of that, quite a bit of percentage fall into that crack. So that's one of the key reasons why I thought that I think today just a simple short interview session like this, really sharing value adding to people all over the world, whoever that's watching this right now, that you can start to get ideas on a lot of times. It's just not just understanding what is your destiny, your forecast, and of course I'm pretty sure that somewhere along the way. So you see, Jackson, for you, it's been like 2012. You started Mighty Jaxx, right? So all the way 2012, now it's 2020. It's like a good 8 years. I think educate me a bit. I think probably not everything is a bed of roses. Am I right to say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you would know best, right? Like the things that come with business. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
So
exactly.
yeah,
You see, that's yeah. Feel free to continue if you got more to contribute.
I think the idea of a business is constantly trying to also resolve issues, right? And until it reach a certain stage that you're happy with the iteration of the business. And so along the way, of course, you're not equipped with all the skills that's needed to go through it, like almost like a silver bullet of sort, right? It doesn't happen that way. What you have is you have really great people that by chance or by luck or by fate you meet, and who are able to complement in what you do, and you build it together, and that's what it's all about. But it doesn't mean that whether you were a $10,000 business or like a multi-million-dollar business, the scope of issues there will always be, because that's why you exist. That's why you are here to solve that problem. And so the level of the problem also increases as the business grow, right? Um, and so I don't think there is ever a time that is like entirely carefree in its entirety, I think. Yeah.
Right, understood. Right. So exactly what we are all doing here. So that's one of the key things that you see. A lot of us sometimes we judge our inner strength. We just think that we may only be good for something, right? So example, you can be a very good accountant. Some of you are very good in design. Some of you are very good in sales. Um, Now we are not cut out to do everything in life. This is what destiny made out of us. So that's why one of the key things that I think you make a good point is we actually have to base on certain people to come into our life to really bring us to the next level. So I must also say the same for ourselves is it won't today we have reached a certain skills. It was never because of just work of my own, right? So we bring on board powerful people or people who can complement each other's strength. And I think today you hire what's the team strength like? Is it 50, 60?
Uh, right now it's about 70 right now.
Well, 70, right? So you see, uh ladies and gentlemen, right? So you see, at the age, how are you this year right now?
This year 31, 31, yeah.
31, right? So you see, 31, providing a lot of family support for at least 70 people, families, right? Because he hires a group of 70 people. So this is actually one of the clear vision that we are trying to put out here tonight. Is whatever we are trying to do in life, that's always the first stepping stone. So it's like, where are you going to be on from now? So someone must hold on to that idea dearly, and envision that 5 years or 10 years, there's going to be a bigger version, a more edited version of whatever your dreams that you're having right now, but complement with more powerful people that helps you along the way. And it will never be the work of one person. So that's why when I know, I mean, every year we are regularly connected with Jackson, but I'm happy. Every time my team always give me a lot of feedbacks of how our clients is doing, and then it's like, hey, he was at Forbes under 30, right? So I think that was 2018, right? So we came across the
Yeah.
article. You went on to Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah.
So today it's like, how many of us can be doing that, right? So I actually went on the top 40 under 40. That was at some time back, but of course this year I'm actually officially 40. So we are guessing my age. Actually, don't have to guess. I'm born 1980, right? So I'm 40 this year. Okay. So technically, you see, what we are all trying to share right here is we want to let you guys envision that whatever you are wishing right now, it all can happen as long you're still willing to take that first step. I think most of us. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you agree that we should all be guiding our dreams and of course go all the way up, please type one, right? Type one in the comment right now. For those of you you're tuning in right now, type one if you completely agree that we should never give up our dream in this entire life. This is something that I always advocate, because it doesn't matter you are rich now or you're poor now, or you are highly educated or you're lowly educated, or you don't receive much education. But I always say that currently there's a bit of information we probably, most of us, we know is currently we are already at period 9. You see, in this period 9 is a very weird energy. Period 9 is in the period of fire energy. So fire energy talks about IT, talks about digitalization. You realize these days you can have very young YouTubers, right? Maybe they can be like 20 or even less than 20. I've seen YouTubers 11 and 12. They are making a couple of millions a year. All this is completely possible. But if you fast, you will go back maybe like 20 years. None of this you have ever heard, right? Because 20 years ago we don't really have internet. And that is what I thought, that this world right now it doesn't limit us from a lot of opportunities anymore. Just think back about the time whereby we are all connected with a lot of opportunities back then. But back then we don't really have mobile phones, right? So a lot of things you have to search for yellow pages. So to be listed, or to be technically to be found, you have to put some advertisement somewhere. But these days, you see, just today, just this Facebook live session, we can already start to reach a lot more people, right? So that's one of the key takeaway that I thought, that his story, Jackson, your story today has been one of very inspiring, because I will want more younger generation of people to settle, or even it doesn't matter how old you are right now. Some people just tell me, you know what, Master Kevin, I'm 55 already. I'm already too old. I probably only left 20 years, and then I will kaput, and then this is it. But I always say this. I think KFC started somewhere about 65, right? So the guy um,
I always
started
think
at that
about that.
age, right? Pretty much. So I think it was so much never really about what is the best age to really start. So a lot of key things is, but of course, I think all of you by now you should understand that to me, success is based on a few things. First, it's there must be an intention or initiative that you take a first step. Second, I'm not going to say that if all you want to be successful is just to be hardworking. I think many of you have seen phases before. You are very hardworking person. You work day and night. You are even working harder than anybody else in the world. But for some reason, the force of reason is really against you, right? You felt that certain years, you are not sleeping, and then you are churning all your hours out there to deliver work, but technically you're not getting any outcome, right? So why did that happen? So this is why when I talk about getting started out, you basically need to come down to two things. So the first thing is I'm crazy into this because I'm really fanatics when you talk about astrology. I spent a lot of time doing all this research. It's we must know when do we operate at what time, right? So sometimes it's a time whereby it's meant for you to be on the offense. This is the year you have to go out. You have to get yourself. If you have to go through 100, interviews with different people, do it because your name will spread far and apart, and then companies all over will want to connect with you. And this is where you can put your companies onto the international roadmap. But there will be certain years whereby you realize that whatever you're putting out there, it doesn't seem to be get appreciated. You don't see results. And then, some people felt defeated at this short period of time. And the small percentage will give up totally, right? So example, you could be starting out first year in the business, you see some profit, second year, you're doing well, third year, doing it. Suddenly fourth year, everything all went down, your cash flow is affected and everything. Most businesses, I think SMEs, in nature, people will always tell you 85% of most SMEs fail within the first or second year, right? Because they did not pursue on the journey long enough, right? I think that sets one of the very key perspectives that you want to be looking at simply two things. Technically, I always say that, if you want to talk about luck, it's all about your date of birth, the place you stay, and what are you going to be doing about it, your main action of free will. So I think Jackson today has shown us that his free will is it come from I wouldn't say nobody, but it come from really a very average kid, right? If I can be saying that about you, Jackson. So I don't think
I'm
it's not like
born
you
and
have
raised Choa Chu Kang.
family fortune
Yeah.
passed down to you.
No,
Okay,
no.
educate us on this because you mentioned there was a loan 20,000 you use you get it from someone to start a business. Would that be from the parents or would that be from someone else?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm a Choa Chu Kang kid, right? So that's like super far, right? and I don't have any credit score when I started Mighty Jaxx because I wasn't working, I was just out of army. And then I have to go through my pretty much my parents' credit and took a loan off their credit card lah, basically, right? And then hopefully, try to pay off that eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that period of time when you were actually on this, it must be in a period of high stress because first you're on borrowed money, right? I wouldn't say you're on borrowed time, but on borrowed money, right? So that will means that does it give you the feeling that you can't afford to fail, or what happened if you do fail?
I figured I'll just pay back the money, like one way or another, like get a job or something. So I
Yeah.
wasn't really worried, but I dumped all the money onto one product. And it was a product that you shown earlier just now, like the one with the skull. And
Okay.
I have like 200 pieces made.
Okay.
And I went to a Comic Con expecting to sell like
Right.
the rest of it. And
Okay.
and we only sold 20 pieces basically out of the 200. So I went back home, my parents'
Yeah.
home,
I think that was
HDB.
this product, right?
Yeah, this is the product, right?
Yeah.
And 180 boxes are stacked up high in their HDB flat, and I was like, holy crap! Like I think I better get a job, to pay it off.
Right. Okay, so that's why coming from that is I think one of the key is I think you seems pretty much confident on your end, knowing that at some point that maybe the worst that it can happen is just to get a job and pay off the 20,000 loan. I guess.
There's a book that I read long time ago during school, that really helped me, and it's by a creative director called Paul Arden. And
Right.
his book is it's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be, you see. So that really left an impact on me because if I keep measuring by how good I am, then I can't be the next Jeff Bezos or whatever, right? But if I'm able to think out of it, then you begin to accept, even meeting during 2014, these are all chances that you take, you see, I think.
Understood. I completely agree with that. I always tell myself, right? It doesn't matter how much time that we put in a certain work or research work. It's only how better you can become, right? 没有世上最好，只有怎样更好. That is one of the Chinese saying. I always, understand completely because it drives me to be humble, to understand that in order to reach a greater height, there are so many more people we can be learning from. So even to today, I must also be saying that I'm also very thankful a lot of mentors coming into my life, and especially some of my seafood, they're coming from Taiwan, they got coming from China. So part of our goals is to be able to add value to as many people as possible. Okay, so probably just for us, before we wrap things up for a bit, where do you envision Mighty Jaxx is going to go for the, like, maybe for the next 5 years?
Well, one of the things that I sort of stand by is also not to have literal goals. Um, it doesn't it doesn't really mean the way that it sounds, but it's really important for me because I find that if I get pigeonholed into something, I won't be able to perform to the best of my ability, or I won't be able to take on opportunities that may be there, but because I'm so, linear in terms of how I see them, I may avoid them entirely. So what I like to do is really to try, take the first step, fail and fail fast, and then figure out whether that's something that eventually you want to do or not. So that's why from a toy company, supposedly a toy company, we have pivoted and become like a consumer tech company, right? So that happened only in a span of about the last 18 months. And if I were to be so, you know, uh, like a horse with a blinders to be so focused on the toy aspect of it, then chances are I may have missed this opportunity. So I'm not saying like we should just shoot all the arrows everywhere, right? But if you have an open mind, and you're also asking the universe to come with certain ideals that may sporadically come into your head while you're bathing, and then you're like, hey, actually, should I do it or not? Then if it doesn't cost you a lot, or it's just time, then spend a bit of time and try it out.
Right, right. Okay, so just let me know a bit. Technically, because in my area of practice, I do a lot of consultations. I deal a lot with understanding people's date of birth and time. I've discussed a lot on staying in the right place in the right house. Now, do you kind of subscribe to the fact that being in the right house does give you certain leverage, or do you feel even differences at all?
I think houses wise, yes, very, very clear distinct between the one that I'm in now and the previous one. Very distinct. I can feel the difference. But probably more so for me, it's through the offices, because every year we move office as the team expands, right? And as I move office to office, right, not every move is fantastic, and it's very odd. It's very odd. I can't explain it, but we started in 2012, right? And we were in like the nastiest industrial park and all that, and it still feels okay. But when you even move to a standard office, let's say in 2017, and that was just an entirely pretty bad year for us, and I feel that even being in that space. So it's very odd. Once I move out of it, everything seems to sort of fall into place.
Right. So that's why one of the key reasons is we are very glad to be able to guide you in the new office right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
One of the key goals that we're looking forward is to eliminate a few things. So of course, increase opportunities. This is something that when you're in different place, okay, the more sensitive people out there. Now, when I mention more sensitive, some of you can be very intuitive people. Some of you got enhanced sixth sense. Now, some of you study 八字 with me for a long time. So those that have 八字, you can check your chart if you have this indirect resource stars, or you have this we call this the eating god. Now, some of you, if you don't know, you can always go to my website, plot your own date of birth and time, look at the profiling percentage, and then you'll be able to see that. Exactly. Now, if you are not a very sensitive type, you're not a very intuitive type, you will kind of realize that when you are from one place and then you move from one place to another place, you realize that there are literally big difference. So how do I measure that? Is I always say, look at your relationship, right? Look at your cash flow, look at your opportunities, look at your ops. That means, your operation. If you are, in place A, for the same group of people, the same team, you brought them from place A to place B. Place A give you a lot of operations problem. For some reason, you cannot explain. And cash flow, increase of cash flow problem, vendors issues, right? A lot of unhappiness, politics. The last thing I always say is in our office environment, you don't want politics because it's kind of end up everyone sustaining internal injuries, and it's always bad for the company as a whole, right? So, but when you are in a place that really supports you, now the very intuitive people immediately will be able to see, be able to feel it. They wouldn't even need to consult a feng shui master. But like I mentioned, not everyone is intuitive, not everyone's sixth sense is strong. So that's why the rest of them probably they will, be looking for feng shui masters to come in to help, right? So again, I always mention that the key differences is we just want to be right on a few things, right? So on your date of birth and time, we want to know when do we attack, when are we going to be on the defense, and then on the place, right? Whether it's your office or your home, you want to have an environment where that it makes you really productive. And when I talk about productive, I also means that you need to evaluate yourself from time to time. Like, I stay in this place every time I'm having very negative thoughts. Why? So you need to question yourself why, right? So how come in the previous place I'm not this person? But so you need to know every of this is a chain. When you are in a supportive place, a lot of it will starts to shift, right? So we all know that the universe provides the massive energy out there, but energy can be both negative and positive, right? So when you get so positive, and then all of your ideas suddenly comes into you, and all these ideas will start to go into implementations. The implementations will start to become your outcome, right? So if you are still not sure that am I in the right place or wrong place, I would say always do an evaluation and look back. This is what some of the key things that but this is one of the key things that I'm also addressing is Jackson at his age, okay, he belongs to the more, he has a little bit of that sixth sense, right? Although he probably 100% don't know his true power, but he actually does, right? So maybe that allows him to connect to the universe to be able to download certain informations, to be able to get good creative ideas, like what is the direction I need to be going for my company ahead, or what could be the next in thing that people is looking at. So a lot of this energy is being connected, is all downloaded from the external universe. This is exactly what we are looking at here, right? So, and of course, Jackson, what do you just a little bit of your last advice for a lot of us is staying here to watch this interview with us. Now right now we all know that we are in the middle of COVID-19, right? So I think a lot of jobs is affected, right? Some businesses are affected, but of course, not 100% all the businesses are affected. Some people are doing pretty well. But what will be some of the advice that you think that given for anyone right now that they are still 50-50 on doing the things they really wanted to do? What will be your advice for them? Should they go ahead and start it, or should they, be kind of like wait for a better time, wait for COVID to be over? Or do you have a general consensus of what do you think about this whole thing moving forward?
Yeah, being the position where I'm in, I get asked that a lot also by my peers and other business owners, or people who want to go into that. And whether is it this situation or not, my answer is always like, hmm, end of the day, if you never really stepped out and never tried it, then it would be a question that you have for the rest of your life, and you never know whether that's going to happen or not. And so I always say, as much as you can, please, the moment you think of it, just don't think logically that much at all. Because if you can think logically of what's going to happen, then that's something that you can done before already. So the only way to create something that's extraordinary is to do something that's unreasonable. That's incredibly unreasonable at this moment at where you're at right now. And I would say that in this situation, particularly that we're in, um, I'm afraid that I speak out of context, but it has never been such a great change for a lot of businesses, and a lot of things are going to be sunset industry, right? We don't talk about tourism and airline, right? That's going to take a couple of years to recover. That's obvious. But there are a lot of other things as well that's going to change rapidly. Service-based stuff, and going to direct and so on. So I think that there has never been a window of change that is so appropriate for you to take a jump, because this is it. Anything from here on, it's gonna shift. Like, it's not gonna go away. This is the new normal. It happened once. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but it's gonna change. The whole dynamics of this industry is gonna change. So I think there's never been a better time to change. Yeah, to take the leap of faith. Yeah.
Sure. This is, in fact, I spoke about this last few session before. A lot of people, they were so worried about the COVID, but I did mention this. This is almost like resetting of the whole world industry and economies altogether. So what this means is, no offense to some of you, you belongs to my good friend, you're the multi-reach. you're tycoons, you own lands and everything. No offense to some of you guys, but it will be resetting a lot of the wealth from one group of people to another group of people who are going to be starting out completely nothing, and then they'll be able to leverage onto that equally, right? So that's why we start to see, I think a lot of companies, oil and gas, it used to be on the high, right? So right now, I think even you look at a Middle East country, they are trying to manage pretty hard on oil and gas. So that means what used to be the norm is no longer going to be the norm, right? So some people think that, oh, certain industry will never die off. And when I look at this current time right now, I must say that, this is the best time for you to be studying even anything else, anything that you wanted to do, because you have equal amount of opportunities as any one of us do, right? You don't need a rich father, you don't need a rich family to pass on certain things for you to get started. You can be, not highly educated, probably you only had, secondary school, tertiary education, but then you suddenly decided, hey, you know what, I want to come out to become entrepreneur. I probably want to teach people on the skill sets. You have YouTube, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, your social medias. There's 1,001 methods you can be reaching so many people out there. And completely why today I thought of, inviting Jackson to come on board is I want to show you guys that, hey, have you even heard of toy collectibles hitting multi-million dollars revenue a year? If you look at it, I think we did some rough research. Some of the biggest, probably your biggest big boys in the industry, I saw figures like 990 million. It just means that
Yeah.
how huge this industry is going to be. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is what are people doing out there? I'm not saying that, you shouldn't, if you example, right, if you like to be, you want to go into government services, you will need to be highly educated. Let's just all face it, right? I don't think they will hire a PSLE person
No.
if you are not highly educated. If you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, please, you still have to go on the education route. But I'm saying that today, with all the freedom, as a startup or as a completely new entrepreneur, you start from scratch, but your world is now different, much, much different. You can get started like literally with little to no money, right? So a lot of us did that. Now, some of you may not know this. I started our data centers company with very, very little money, few $100 to $1,000 that we started renting little servers. We call that co-locations, right? Small accounts. We started leasing, and then we started knocking on doors. That was, I did that in almost 1996, 1997. I was 16 and 17
Damn.
in those times, right?
Wow.
So literally really also started from nothing. But again, as technology comes out, as these days more people willing to embrace Facebook, right? In those days we have ICQ, we have Friendster, so very, very, very ancient time. But these days, so many things is moving so much forward. People are more willing to take out a credit card these days to purchase something. They may just probably they just saw on 5 minutes ago, and they say, hey, this is it. I need to be buying this. So the transfer of wealth from one area to another area is much faster with technologies. So I think I completely agree with you that sometimes when we are thinking too much, it's one of the big deterrent to stop us from even doing anything at all, because there is 1,001 concerns. Is like, what if I start this? What if I'm not going to make it? Right? But all I'm saying here is this: you can be in a job right now, but who's there to guarantee that you will make it in this job for the next 10 years, 20 years? Because economy is always changing, right? Businesses is always facing challenges. So some days, and even you've been with a company for 10 years, businesses may not be able to sustain. Like example, a COVID-19 resets everything, right? So you have never heard that, some of the big boys, they're traveling all the time, but right now, tourism, for at least for now, it's not working out very well. But of course, some people will say, does this means that there'll be no tourism? No, no, no. Right? I always say that COVID-19 is a cycle. The good thing about it being a cycle is there's a starting time, there's an ending time. Right? Some of you, if you follow some of my forecasting regularly, I did mention 2021, right? July onward, plus minus, the situation of virus issue will more or less get a grip of itself. And what happens? If you look at the history of pandemics, whether you talk about the Spanish flu, you talk about whatever, big thing out there, it's always within 1 to 3 years. You hasn't seen the pandemic that went on for 5, 10 years. And then people stop traveling completely. People is not going to rent hotels. People, you get Airbnb all going path and not going to come back. So, but having said that, moving forward, one of the key things that I thought today is just an inspiring session. There's nothing I want to be selling you guys, right? So today, some of you are waiting to sign up for courses, for parts services. I'm not selling anything today, right? So today, the whole idea is I just want to be able to add value to you together with Jackson. And I thought, him coming from a place with little to no help, I would say that even on borrowed money, right? But he has a few things I really look up to, right? He has that determination. A lot of us really, if you want to be looking for start out new businesses, you must understand you are the only one that can steer your own road. If you decided one day that you are the one that wants a certain business or idea to go on far, the founder, right, cannot be left alone, right? You can have teams to help you, but the founder must always be the ones to. That's why today, if you look at it, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, he's still pretty much the forefront of the businesses itself. It doesn't matter the businesses has already went free flow, all the way on an automated process, listed, economies, huge amount of economies. So and technically, I think you guys will start to see the whole idea of today is just to give you a really very much value added session. So let me know how many of you likes to be still probably next time in the future still wants to hear from Jackson. Please help me type yes in the comment. So maybe in the very near future, probably Jackson's like, oh, not again. But I found today to really value add a lot, right? So help me type a yes in the comment if you think that we can all learn from each other in this space. I hope you agree, right? It doesn't matter. Don't think of me that I'm like 40 and then you're 30 plus, or you're like 60. What should I listen to a 40 years old person? Number one, it was never about the age, right? I even learned from people who's younger than me. I learned from people who's older than me, much older and much younger. So to me, it was never about the age. I always look out to people that really is willing to put out value to other people. They have a lot of hard work, they have a lot of research work, and I subscribe to powerful people. I subscribe to people that wants to be connected, right? So that's one of the good thing that I would say is that in all our years of entrepreneurship, let's just put it that I think Jackson and myself, we are supported by a lot of good people around us. Without those people, it will never ever be possible. It will never be a one-man show, right? So I think Jackson, you may agree with me on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely right.
So
Great
we really
people
yes.
and benefactors, like definitely. Yeah.
Right. So okay, right. So I hope technically don't want to be taking too much of you guys' time, right? But I hope that you really enjoyed this session tonight. I want to keep it to around 50 plus minutes, so I don't take out a lot of time. I apologize that in the initial first 5 minute Facebook went off, but thank God we are back. Okay, so today I only just want to value add with you guys. Together with Jackson, and then I hope that through a little bit of a inspiring story, all we want is for you to put your foot forward to do what you really want to do. If you still remember what Jackson has says, that we probably only live once, right? If you don't do it, no one will be there to tell you whether you will succeed or not, right? The only way to know is to get it done. But of course, if you want to be utilized other things, that it's true that there's a luck factor that's involved, then you can of course look at your 八字, staying in a good place. These are factors that will make your decisions more easier, so that when you're moving forward, you're facing a little bit less resistance, a bit less, wind that's blowing right across to your head, and then you're getting hit every single time. So that's the only thing we are talking about here. But a lot of this, you still realize that we're still talking a lot about free will, a lot about embracing our ideas. And I will tell you that in most cases that even the whole world can doubt you, right? You must not doubt yourself. That is something I completely subscribe to, right? So, okay, if you guys love this session and you want more session, do let us know. And of course, right here today, I would just like to have a huge thank you to Jackson. Thank you for joining us here tonight. And I think tonight the session was just to share out to a lot more people, hoping that one day that these are the good people that they got inspired, and then they went out to do what they wanted to do. It doesn't matter that, okay, you see, Jackson has an idea that got to do with collectibles. Your idea, you may think you got a stupid idea, but I'll tell you, no idea is stupid unless you've tested it. All right? You can be having ideas, hey, I want to teach people how to play mahjong. Feel free to. If you got a certain method, you know how to get higher probability or whatever, feel free to, right? There is no stupidity in trying out a method. But technically, if you have not tried anything at all in your life, the last thing I want for you guys is, it's towards the end and all you have is there's a little bit of regret, right? Of not doing some of the things that you really wanted to do in life. So tonight, I hope have deep thoughts of what we have tried to put out our message here. Look through your 八字. Of course, some of you, if you have studied 八字, please look through your 八字 and then starts to do whatever you want to do and let 2020. Right now, we are already in August. There's still remaining about 4 months. There's still, to me, 4 months, my schedule is overly packed. I already have 1,001 ideas we are really going to be implementing, despite whatever people are saying that it's COVID-19 right now. I should be sitting at home or playing mahjong and watching Netflix. I don't think that is going to make you guys productive. But I'm always excited about coming up with ideas, right? So thank you so much for joining us on this session. And as you can see, Jackson, all the viewers are very appreciative of you. Thank you for coming out on board. And okay, so for you guys, that is going to be still be tagging on to my Facebook Live. That's some of the good news that's coming in the subsequent week, right? I'm going to start to resume some of the Facebook session, right, more regularly, and I'll be talking things about 奇门遁甲, 八字, and feng shui. So if you start to enjoy this sort of training, remember all this training that I've been doing this far, most of the time they are all free, right? So if you want, unless you want to be specialized, then you're more than welcome to contact our instructors where we do some of those online training, right? So for all of you, just feel free to help us to like and share the post, because when you are doing that, I would say you never know when this video is going to inspire one other person that came out and become successful because of your little sharing, right? So tonight, I thank all of you for coming on board this session, and I hope you have a very, very good Saturday night. Thank you, Jackson, and I shall see you the next time I see you live.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.